Okay, so it's 4:30. I think we can start. Hello, everyone. We are here with Mark Smargon, Simona Pop, and Tegan Kline. I was actually going to introduce them, but I think it's better if you guys introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what are you doing and what's up. So, Mark, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I'm Mark Smargon. I'm from Tel Aviv. And I have a startup that started last year, but actually it goes way back 4 years ago. It's actually my first startup in the crypto space. My first one was 8 years ago. So I've been doing this full-time in crypto for the last 8 years. And all the startups had to do with payments. First on Bitcoin, then we did colored coins before Ethereum days. And Fuse is really an evolution of that idea. How can we do payments on the blockchain in a way that that the user is not necessarily needs to be a crypto user or aware that is using crypto infrastructure? How can we use crypto as like a underlying hidden piece of code, just like Linux, where users basically use it every day, all the time, but they don't really aware that they're using Linux. So Fuse is really giving a software stack that lowers cost. And the idea is that the blockchain can be, it wasn't really the case in 2017, but today you can really imagine blockchain as an infrastructure that can reduce cost, democratize access to financial products. And the users don't need to be crypto users or developers. Right now, it's mostly useful for developers. 3 years from now, or I hope even sooner, we will see a lot of new types of users that just want to use it as an alternative to cash. And it's a trend that is a bit stronger than crypto itself all over the world. And we're addressing that trend, addressing that need, and giving users like one-click deploy a wallet type of product. And that's like a really brief explanation of what we're doing. Anybody can come and create a community on our studio and get a wallet and create an experience for the users that replicates Venmo, WeChat. So it's less about selling investment tools, more about how can I use my money in my wallet on my phone.
Thank you so much for that, Mark.
High-level explanation.
Yes, it was amazing. Thank you so much. Super interesting. How about we go with Simona now? Tell us a little bit in a nutshell. What have you been doing?
Sure. So I've been in the space now for over 3 years. Initially co-founded the Bounties Network, creators of the Standard Bounties protocol. You might be familiar with one of the apps that sits on top of that. That's Gitcoin. And now I head up community for Status. Status is what I like to call the gateway to Ethereum, a very 3-in-1 kind of product that enables communication, enables transactions through the wallet piece, and then also enables exploration of the Ethereum ecosystem through its dApp browser. Again, very much like Mark said, for us, it's very, very important to have users get value out of the tools that they use, and that value isn't necessarily just monetary. On DeFi, but it has other implications where we actually create the tools that empower individuals and communities to solve problems, to transact, to communicate in a privacy-first space that actually cares about their anonymity, that cares about their rights. So yeah, excited to chat more.
Thank you so much. I'm so loving the conversation that's going to happen here. Okay, Tegan, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Tegan Kline. My background kind of started in traditional finance. I learned about Bitcoin in 2011, but took a more traditional route. Did investment banking at Bank of America, sales and trading at Barclays, and then learned about Ethereum about 4 years ago and really saw the opportunity to create a new system kind of outside of the one that exists to disrupt finance, redistribute resources. I joined Orchid. Orchid is a distributed VPN that is working to get everyone equal access to the internet. Ran business for them for almost 1.5 years, and then kind of took a step back and felt like a lot of what was being built on Ethereum wasn't exactly competitive with centralized applications that we're seeing. And I believe that blockchain is the future of the internet, and I want to make sure we get to that future. So I joined the Graph, and the Graph, we're an indexing and query protocol that's powering many applications on Ethereum, like Uniswap, Synthetics, Aave, Gnosis, Numerai, many others. And we are on track to launch our decentralized network later this year to make sure the applications are truly decentralized and permissionless.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I think there is a question about the challenges, because obviously now with COVID-19, things may have changed or may have not. Maybe like before you were doing something and it has continued, or maybe you have enhanced it. So I would really like your views on how has the pandemic influenced in everything that you've told me that you are doing like this couple of months. Why don't we start the other way around? So Tegan.
Sure. So obviously, being on the business side of the organization, meeting folks is really important. And I think during COVID, it's been all work and no play, which makes it hard to execute, as efficiently with business deals and things like that. But when COVID first began during the quarantine, I did a few different things. The first was to launch a digital crypto tea with my favorite investors and supporters and also projects in the space to kind of have a close-knit group of community that we were communicating. And we do that every 2 weeks. We also have a Telegram channel. And so that was kind of one way that I made sure we were staying connected, just because in the crypto space, so much of our identity is like traveling together and being around one another to spur innovation and ideas. So that was one way to kind of keep that magic alive. And then another thing that I did was, after about 2 months of strict quarantine lockdown, I got a group of friends together that were all in the crypto space, and we got a house together and quarantined together. We've kind of been doing that all over the US. So that's been very helpful.
That's just awesome. I want to do that. Simona, how about you?
So, yeah, I mean, not for us as the Ethereum community, as we chat about community, the events and being able to get together and really share each other's energy and ideas is very, very important, and is such a staple of our culture that it has felt very strange not seeing people in real life for what is, well, it will be a year. Very, very soon. So I think putting certain things in place, very much like Tegan mentioned, her tea calls. We did a share and care call, I think around April or May. We set it up, and the idea was to have it go for 24 hours. We managed to keep it going for 10 hours, where the idea was that you just pop in whenever you can or want to chat to others. We had people playing music. We had people sharing what they're cooking and recipes and so on. I think Vitalik popped in for a second, and then somebody started doing a pretty interesting rendition of a song, and then we lost him very quickly afterwards. And I think Matt, who was singing, was a little has a chip on his shoulder about that. But again, just keeping things, trying to keep things. What's that?
Did somebody get Vitalik drunk?
No. It was basically a song that was being played, and just it wasn't. I don't think it was to his liking. But yeah, trying to keep things light and trying to stay connected in these times. But on the plus side, we have had a lot of virtual events that I feel have kind of brought that accessibility down, broadened that accessibility to the events for a lot more people. Being able to tune in just from your sofa or from your desk does make it a little bit easier. So
thank you for that, Simona. Before passing to Mark, Manu sends a big hug for the three of you. Shout out there. And so, Mark, tell us, what do you think?
So I actually think that it's hard in hindsight to know if it helped or like hurt crypto, because my like in retrospect, I kind of think it kind of helped. Like the pandemic gave a boost to like reinforce some of the ideas. And our experience was very like, from the minute the pandemic started, we just saw more traction on our platform. We have a pilot, for instance, in Spain for cash handouts, which are usually something you do with cash in Europe, in parts of Europe, or payment cards, or you go to big retailers, and they just wanted something like fast that you could be easily deployed and can be used with SMBs without high fees. So you just deploy a wallet and start like put it in with some merchants in the marketplace, and immediately you have something very useful that answers an immediate pain. And those are stuff that were just, during the Corona. Last week we had an event in Thailand where people mostly use cash, and they don't want to use cash anymore. And they have a music festival, and people just go with bahts, with the Thai currency. So instead of paying with the Thai currency, they go to a counter, deposit Thai currency, get it into a wallet, and then go and pay at the event. So people don't want to touch cash, and it's kind of boosting some of the ideas that crypto was founded around. Also, I think crypto has like this mentality of like the main thing that suffered are events and hackathons. And I think it might not be that bad, because I think this year was like a very good year for product shipment. Like there was like a lot of stuff happening. People were just working their ass off. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe we'll realize it's a bad thing in the future. But so far, it's been a good year for crypto, unlike the rest of the world.
Yeah, totally agree. And actually, the next question, it's a tricky one, is what you were speaking about the future. What does the future look like for community building from where you are, from your perspective? How does it look like? Let's start with Simona.
Just replying to Manu. So I think, and this is something that I've kind of spoken about a lot, and as we're seeing the ways in which different communities are changing, and actually with the whole climate of 2020, it has been challenging for those communities who are very tight-knit, who are very, very focused on doing a lot of or extracting a lot of their value from those real life interactions. But what I think we're doing is we are evolving from to a community 3.0. We started with communities that are very, very much rooted in the physical, right? Because your community used to be your village or your extended family, and so on. Then we moved to the incipient communities online, where you kind of discovered them and try to create your own, or bring people who were interested in the same things that you were interested in, and kind of start hanging out, start collaborating, start doing things together. And now with these communities 3.0, I think we are seeing shaped much more around purpose, where it is a choice to participate in these communities and actually take the community feel and bring it to several different spheres of interaction, several different realms of manifestation, I guess. And I think crypto does that enables that very, very well, because it actually focuses on value that isn't necessarily just monetary. It focuses on value that is around, skills, that is around problem solving, that is around democratizing the access to resource that just wasn't there before. And I think that will enable the spinning up of communities of value in a much easier way than we have seen so far.
I couldn't agree more, really. Mark, how about you?
So I think that until recently we saw blockchain as kind of like the end game, and now it more goes towards being used as a tool. And right now communities are something that we know that lives, like you have Facebook. And it's really accessible, and it's free, and anybody can use it. And I think moving forward, there will be a lot more access to tools. Doesn't matter if it's blockchain based or not, but I see Create General as a kind of like a marketplace of ideas. A lot of people see something that works and they want to apply it on the local level. And when I say local, it doesn't mean it needs to be necessarily, geographically local. It's just smaller. And it's the long tail of those communities that I'm interested in. So not necessarily like huge millions of people online groups on Facebook, but how do we create, tools for places that you didn't really necessarily had like economic sense in building something really expensive, because now the barriers are getting lower and those tools are getting more accessible. So you can dream about the long tail of communities, and this is, I think, the interesting change. Anybody can start something, ad hoc, have an idea, or they see something that's working on a global level, they want to apply it on a local level, and just unleashes a lot of creativity, empowering people. I don't know where to start. It's too short a panel to discuss, all the possibilities.
We're gonna need like 3 or 4 more panels. Thank you so much for that. Tegan, finally, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what Simona and Mark said. I do think we'll have a lot better tools, digital tools, but nothing kind of replaces the in-person, like the magic that happens at in-person events. But that being said, I do think we'll find a new balance. I think pre-COVID, we were a little bit too, going to too many events, traveling from country to country. And I think that we'll find a better balance between like what can happen online versus what can happen in person in this new, new normal that we'll experience post-COVID. But yeah, and I think that crypto did digital really well, and a lot of companies were kind of ahead of that digital curve. For example, the graph has always been fully distributed. We've never had an office, in the last almost 3 years we've been running. So I think that, the crypto space was really kind of attuned or primed for this digital future. And I'm excited to see a lot of other kind of Web2 and other companies catch up to that.
Thank you so much. Yes, I agree as well. This is an amazing panel. I'm super surprised as well. So a question to link it to this, now that we're talking about the future, what advice would you give to people that have ideas, for creating community, for doing community building? For example, as in Fight Pandemics, we are building a community for communities as well. So what kind of advice would you give to all these people that are hearing us now, or maybe later, about starting this? How do you get that spark, that initial spark, to get it on? We can start. I'm just switching over. Tegan, if you want to go first.
Sure. Yeah, I think like the first step is really like find something you believe in that you can build community around. I think it's, you never want to force building community. You never want to like try to monetize your community. You want to like find an idea that, or I guess a mission that you believe in, and then build community around that. But I think once you have like that passion spark, then just try to find people that also have similar values or believe in the similar vision. And I think like the best advice I can give is just, I guess like start from the people that you would want to work most closely with, and then kind of the community will accumulate around that.
Thank you so much. I'm just writing down everything. Simona, what do you think?
So I think the key thing to focus on is what delivers value for people. So we sometimes forget or kind of let's say ignore the fact that the tech isn't actually the goal. The tech is the means that achieves different goals for different people. And making sure that you are constantly creating a space that delivers value for people, whatever it is that they want to achieve, whatever it is that they want to use your technology for, is what is important. Don't create things for the sake of creating them. Always ask yourself, does this deliver value for people? And is this something that can empower individuals and communities to do whatever it is that they want to do? And the more we do that, the more we actually build communities versus just various audiences, right, that are just spectating. You want to have the tools to empower people. And that's a shift that I think will achieve with blockchain and with crypto. We will move from the concepts of power and centralized power to a dynamic of empowerment where people have access, they are empowered to take the tools that are there and really shape new open source economies where we focus on thriving versus the mindless kind of situations that we've been perpetuating for decades, and I don't know why, but here we are. We're gonna sort that out.
It also was super inspiring. Thank you for that. And Mark, what are your thoughts?
So first of all, community management is kind of like a serious profession nowadays. So there's a lot of people that know about it more than I do. So I don't look at communities as a goal as well. It's very high level, general notion, could be applied to any business. Any business has a community. Any economy is a community of users. Like it's a very a universal thing. So I would suggest my advice is try to reach customers as fast as possible. Maybe customers is not the right word because I have like this startup mentality, but if you any idea that you have, whether it's like a tech idea, a business model, a consumer product, it needs to meet consumers as fast as possible to validate it. And it's like pretty important not to get lost in the tech or the nice ideas. It's important to talk with your audience as fast as possible, like not wait too long for showing it to people, to discuss this with people, which is nice about crypto. I feel like it's much open and there's no like NDAs to sign, and you can just buy my token and be my partner, and you don't need to go through like sales cycles, and there's a lot of walls that are coming down, and you can experiment better. For instance, my startup uses the graph pretty like for a long time. It's an important infrastructure for what we're doing. And, you know, I guess Tegan doesn't know even about it. You know, the fun part is that I can use it. I don't need to speak with anybody in theory, right? That's the really interesting part.
Thank you so much. I'm just seeing the clock and see that we have only 5 minutes left. So I think we can end this amazing panel with just hearing your final thoughts, like a closing line of everything we discussed today. And I think we can now start with Mark.
Sure. So I think we're in an interesting point in time. Don't know if 2021 will look like 2020. But I think we're currently seeing a lot of more mature ideas and more interesting ideas about communities that maybe until recently people will just write off. So I feel like there's a big opportunity right now in the way that doesn't have anything to do with crypto, just with the acceleration of internet and digitalization of basically everything. So I think it's an interesting point in time to see that the world was in quarantine, but nothing really collapsed yet. And I'm just maybe I'm optimistic right now.
With you 100%. Simona, what are your thoughts?
Feel now I've like delivered my best line already. So I think again, I would say keeping very true to your mission. If you're a project, keeping very true to your mission and your goals is very important, and not cutting corners. I think that's something that is hard to do, because when you start, particularly when you are a startup and you start having to fundraise and you start having to get your customers, you may be tempted to cut corners. You may be tempted to make some compromises. Let's make sure we don't repeat things that we have done, that have come before, like learn what wasn't working, and then what we are building is truly in the service of people, of individuals, and of communities, and is very much focused on empowering them, not taking away their power yet again, but just in another disguise. We are seeing a lot of that happening. Sometimes you will have seen on Twitter with the whole Stable Act that is being proposed now, and under the guise of protecting the unbanked and protecting minorities, it is actually something that is designed to curtail those freedoms even further and prevent access to resource even further. So I would say let's make sure that we build the right things for the right people, with that empowerment in mind.
I have so many quotes from you right now. Thank you. And Tegan.
Yeah, I echo what both Simona and Mark said. Find a problem and then build for that problem. Don't build and then find a problem. And then secondly, do what you're passionate about. Don't cut corners, like Simona said. Make sure that, you're really putting in the effort, and people notice that, and play the long-term game as opposed to the short-term game. It's easy to get lost in profits and play that short-term game, but people are paying attention, and if you do that once, people will remember that. So it's important to kind of keep your eye on the end goal. And I also think like decentralization will win out over anything else. Don't try to like bottle this up and centralize it. Like, be in the spirit of decentralization. And I think Simona put it really well. Move from centralizing power to empowering people. Like, that is what we're all here to do. So yeah, if you have any questions about community building, you're always welcome to reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to help. And if you're new to the blockchain space, reach out to me as well. We're looking for a ton of talent in the blockchain space. I know the world is hurting right now. And yeah, if you know anyone who is looking for a role, we have plenty of them in the crypto community.
I would echo that. So
thank you so much.
Feel free to reach out.
Yes, I think as a closing, really, just thank you guys so much. I think we've learned so much in these 30 minutes. And please, to all the participants that are here, feel free to reach out. As I say, Mark, Tegan, and Simona are super open to questions after. They have the LinkedIn, Twitter, everything is in the chat. And thank you guys. See you in the stage to see the last part of this summit.
Thank you so much for hosting.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.